This is commentary on lesson 135 in the workbook for A Course in Miracles. If I defend myself, I am attacked. This is the longest lesson in the workbook, and it's an extremely important lesson, both from theory but really more in practice. Because if we get the ideas in this lesson, we'll realize that all through the day, at any moment, if we can just take a quiet moment and reduce our fears and our anxieties about what's going on, and in that quiet we can receive guidance about what we need to do next, the way things should be, and how that'll come about. Let me just mention a historical document that was written by an Italian theorist. He was a royalty of somewhere, Machiavelli, and it's always referred to as the Machiavellian plot. And basically what it was a desire on the part of authoritarian rulers to control people. And the way that they controlled people is that they would hire ruffians to come in and cause disturbances, to make people fearful. The people would be fearful of these ruffians, and then they would turn to the kings or the powers that be and say, please protect me from these ruffians. So it's it's quite a common practice in politics. Interestingly enough, it's exactly what the ego does to us, is that it creates our dramas, our unreal needs, and then it has us turn to it to solve them. And our job is to not listen to that voice and listen to the voice of love, so we can learn what we need to do moment to moment to experience that love. Okay. So here we go. If I defend myself, I'm attacked. Who would defend himself unless he thought he were attacked, that attack were real, and that his own defense could save him? And herein lies the folly of defense. It gives illusions full reality, and then attempts to handle them as real. It adds illusions to illusions, thus making correction doubly difficult. And it is this that you do when you attempt to plan the future, activate the past, or organize the present as you wish. So in this lesson, planning, and planning from the standpoint of the ego, is the same thing as an attack upon ourselves. And essentially what it means is that the ego, to keep itself going, makes up all kinds of situations and all kinds of interpretations of situations, so we're frightened, and so we turn to that ego and we listen to its plans about how we're going to be okay, what we need to give ourselves to make ourselves okay. And it's just a total deception. And as I said, this lesson is about just getting quiet and listening to the tranquility in our mind. And if there's something we need to know for guidance, then that's what we'll hear. But in this lesson, planning for ourselves is what it means by defending ourselves. And that defense is an attack on us, because it's an attack on who we are. It's an attack on this whole complete self that is just that love and that peace that's always just there. If you operate from the belief you must protect yourself from what is happening because it must contain what threatens you operate from the belief you must protect yourself from what is happening because it must contain what threatens you. A sense of threat is an acknowledgement of an inherent weakness, a belief there is a danger which has power to call on you to make appropriate defense. The world is based on this insane belief, and all its structures, all its thoughts and doubts, its penalties and heavy armaments, its legal definitions and its codes, its ethics and its leaders and its gods, all serve but to preserve this sense of threat. For no one walks the world in armature but must have terror striking at his heart. Defense is frightening. It stems from fear, increasing fear as each defense is made. You think it offers safety, yet it speaks of fear made real and terror justified. Is it not strange you do not pause to ask, as you elaborate your plans and make your armor thicker and your locks more tight, what you defend and how and against what? Now we're going to see here why in some of our earlier lessons that we've been instructing ourselves that we're not a body. And that's crucial in the Course. And it's also crucial to remember that whatever legitimate bodily needs that we have, those are going to be met. And the Course is not telling us not to seek for companionship or all the things of the world. It's just having us change the purpose in that. And that purpose becomes of us demonstrating that we're not identifying with the body as ourselves, but we're using the body as a communication medium to share this idea with other minds who also think they're bodies, that we're not bodies, that we're spirits. And we do that in our loving actions, in our actions that are dedicated to mutual instruments, that we care as much about others as we care about ourselves. That's the message that a body can give. And so that's why this idea that the body is a communication medium is really important, and not being what it is, not to let it identify who we are. And therefore the body has a really beautiful purpose, and it will go on in its activities, but we've changed that purpose, and therefore we've changed our experience. Okay, so what is it that we're defending against? Let us consider first what you defend. It must be something that is very weak and easily assaulted. It must be something made easy prey, unable to protect itself, needing your defense. What but the body has such frailty that constant care and watchful, deep concern are needful to protect its little life? What but the body falters and must fail to serve the Son of God as worthy host? Yet it is not the body that can fear, nor be a thing of fear. It has no needs but those which you assign to it. It needs no complicated structures of defense, no health-inducing medicine, no care, and no concern at all. Defend its life, or give it gifts to make it beautiful, or walls to make it safe, and you but say your home is open to the thief of time, corruptible and crumbling, so unsafe, it must be guarded with your very life. Is not this picture fearful? Can you be at peace with such a concept of your home? Yet what endowed the body with the right to serve you thus except your own belief? It is your mind which gave the body all the functions you see in it, and set its value far beyond a little pile of dust and water. Who would make defense of something that he recognized as this? The body is in no need of defense. This cannot be too often emphasized. It will be strong and healthy if the mind does not abuse it by assigning it to roles it cannot fill, to purposes beyond its scope, and to exalted aims which it cannot accomplish. Such attempts, ridiculous yet deeply cherished, are the source for the many mad attacks you make upon it, for it seems to fail your hopes, your needs, your values, and your dreams. Now, if this sounds just way abstract and like way beyond your capacity to understand or then practice, have no fear. These are the kinds of ideas that need to be slowly introduced, thought about for a very long time, and slowly practiced. And that's when we come to understanding something like this. So it takes time because it can be difficult at first. The self that needs protection is not real. The body, valueless and hardly worth the least defense, need merely be perceived as quite apart from you, and it becomes a healthy, serviceable instrument through which the mind can operate until its usefulness is over. Who would want to keep it when its usefulness is done? And so again, when we change our purpose and we turn to our inner guide inside, that guides us to our experiences of love and not fear, then the body stops, as I said, stops being what identifies us, and it becomes this communication medium in which we can communicate love. We can communicate. We're not these bodies in conflict with all of its dramas. And therefore, so it's like the analogy often used is like a telephone. When you're talking on the telephone, you don't think that telephone is the person. You know that the telephone is a communication medium, and it's the same thing with the bodies. The bodies will communicate, but we don't identify them. You don't see another person's body as them. That's their communication instrument. Okay. Defend the body and you've attacked your mind, for you have seen in its faults the weakness, the limits, and the lacks from which you think the body must be saved. You will not see the mind as separate from bodily conditions, and you will impose upon the body all the pain that comes from the conception of the mind as limited, fragile, and apart from other minds and separate from its source. So it's again, it's like what's really in our minds we see as being something outside of us, and that's why we need to come back into the mind and solve the problems there. These are the thoughts in need of healing, and the body will respond with health when they have been corrected and replaced with truth. This is the body's only real defense. Yet, is this where you look for its defense? You offer it protection of a kind from which it gains no benefit at all, but merely adds to your distress of mind. You do not heal, but merely take away the hope of healing, for you fail to see where hope must lie if it be meaningful. Now here's really key idea here. A healed mind does not plan. It carries out the plans that it receives through listening to wisdom that is not its own. It waits until it has been taught what should be done and then proceeds to do it. It does not depend upon itself for anything except its adequacy to fulfill the plans assigned to it. It is secure in certainty that obstacles cannot impede its progress to accomplishment of any goal that serves the greater plan established for the good of everyone. So this is this idea here, is that we can't plan from our little standpoint. We need to turn to this collective wisdom inside of us, or our inner guide, the voice of God, and say, well, what is it that I can do most loving in this situation right here that will be for the good of everybody, for not just for myself or this other person in this situation, but for the good of everyone. And that's what that's how we will expand our consciousness to this higher, truer self, is by engaging ourselves in these activities and understandings that are the good for everybody. A healed mind is relieved of the belief that it must plan, although it cannot know the outcome which is best, the means by which it is achieved, nor how to recognize the problem that the plan is made to solve. It must misuse the body and its plans until it recognizes this is so. But when it has accepted this is true, then it is healed and lets the body go. Enslavement of the body to the plans the unhealed mind sets up to save itself must make the body sick. It is not free to be the means of helping in a plan which far exceeds its own protection and which needs its service for a little while. So notice now, here we're not disregarding the body, we're just giving it a different purpose. Okay, the body has a very important purpose in the Course's plan of salvation or atonement or forgiveness. Really important. In this capacity is health assured, for everything the mind employs for this will function flawlessly and with the strength that has been given it and cannot fail. It is perhaps not easy to perceive that self-initiated plans are but defenses with the purpose all of them were made to realize. They are the means by which a frightened mind would undertake its own protection at the cost of truth. This is not difficult to realize in some forms which the self-deceptions take, where the denial of reality is very obvious, yet planning is not often recognized as a defense. The mind engaged in planning for itself is occupied in setting up control of future happenings. It does not think it will be provided for unless it makes its own provisions. Time becomes its future emphasis, to be controlled by learning and experience attained from past events and previous beliefs. It overlooks the present, for it rests on the idea the past is taught enough to let the mind direct its future course. So here's this is our central holy instant practice, to stop for a minute, let go of what we think we believe must happen, what we think are the problems, and that's something we learned in the past, and let go of what's going to happen in the future. What do I need to do so the future is okay? Letting go of all of that, and then just coming into that holy instant moment and getting a sense of peace and a connection to love, a connection to God. And maybe that's all we need. Maybe we don't need to even hear a plan. Maybe we just need that quiet mind. And then, but having done that, if there's something for us to do, then that's what we'll hear. We'll receive that plan, and we don't have to think it through ourselves or hassle with it. We just get that as a gift. Here's what you need to do to experience love. The mind that plans is thus refusing to allow for change. What it has learned before becomes the basis for its future goals. Its past experience directs its choices of what will happen, and it does not see that here and now is everything it needs to guarantee a future quite unlike the past, without a continuity of any old ideas and sick beliefs. Anticipation plays no part at all, for present confidence directs the way. All right, so that's this peaceful moment that we're going to have in that holy instant, and we'll just be confident that what we receive as guidance to be the most loving thing is all that we need. Defenses are the plans you undertake to make against the truth. Their aim is to select what you approve and disregard what you consider incompatible with your beliefs of your reality. Yet what remains is meaningless indeed, for it is your reality that is the threat which your defenses would attack, obscure, and take apart and crucify. So in other words, from the ego standpoint, remembering this love and this true self of love, that's a threat to the ego, and it needs to be defended against it. So it makes up the dramas, and then we listen to it, and then we plan from the ego standpoint. But our goal is just get quiet, have some memory through forgiveness, through the holy instant of who we are, and then we can go from there. What could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? Perhaps you've misunderstood his plan, for he would never offer pain to you. But your defenses did not let you see his loving blessing shine in every step you ever took. While you made plans for death, he led you gently to eternal life. Your present trust in him is the defense that promises a future undisturbed, without a trace of sorrow, and with joy that constantly increases as this life becomes a holy instant, set in time, but heeding only immortality. Let no defenses but your present trust direct the future, and this life becomes a meaningful encounter with the truth that only your defenses would conceal. Without defenses, you become a light which heaven gratefully acknowledges to be its own, and it will lead you on in ways appointed for your happiness according to the ancient plan begun when time was born. Your followers will join their light with yours, and it will be increased until the world is lighted up with joy, and gladly will our brothers lay aside their cumbersome defenses, which availed them nothing and could only terrify. We will anticipate that time today with present confidence, for this is part of what was planned for us. We will be sure that everything we need is given us for our accomplishment of this today. We make no plans for how it will be done, but realize that our defenselessness is all that's required for the truth to dawn upon our minds with certainty. So here's the longest practice period. For 15 minutes, twice today, we rest from senseless planning and from every thought that blocks the truth from entering our minds. Today we will receive instead of plan, that we may give instead of organize, and we are given truly as we say. Now check that out, the state of mind that we will have. Today we will receive instead of plan, that we may give instead of organize. And so in that quietness, without analysis, without concern, we receive that guidance on what to do in a calm manner. And then instead of trying to organize, trying to control everything, we find out, well, what is the most loving thing that I can do? So that we give instead of organize. And we are given truly, as we say, if I defend myself, I am attacked, but in my defenselessness I will be strong, and I will learn what my defenses hide. Nothing but that, if there are plans to make, you will be told of them. They may not be the plans you thought were needed, nor indeed the answers to the problems which you thought confronted you, but they are answers to another kind of question which remains unanswered, yet in need of answering until the answer comes to you at last. So in other words, behind everything we're doing, our question is always, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Am I this ego? Am I this body with all these needs that I've got to protect it? Or am I not God's holy child, child of peace and love and all of that? That's the answer. That's the real problem, is forgetting who we are. And the real solution is some experience of peace and love of who we are. All your defenses have been aimed at not receiving what you will receive today, and in the light of and joy of simple trust, you will but wonder why you ever thought you must be defended from release. Heaven asks nothing. It is hell that makes extravagant demands for sacrifice. You give up nothing in these times today when undefended. You present yourself to your Creator as you really are. He has remembered you. Today we will remember him. For this is Easter time in your salvation, and you rise again from what was seeming death and hopelessness. Now is the light of hope reborn in you, for now you come without defense to learn the part for you within the plan of God. What little plans or magical beliefs can still have value when you have received your function from the voice for God himself? Try not to shape this day as you believe would benefit you most, for you cannot conceive of all the happiness that comes to you without your planning. Learn today, and all the world will take this giant stride and celebrate your Easter time with you. Throughout the day, as foolish little things appear to raise defensiveness in you and tempt you to engage in weaving plans, remind yourself this is a special day for learning, and acknowledge it with this. This is my Easter time, and I would keep it holy. I will not defend myself, because the Son of God needs no defense against the truth of his reality. Okay, so that's the practices throughout the day that we'll do. All right, remember this lesson. You can keep going back to it over and over again. It's a beautiful lesson on how to receive guidance all day long in order that we keep our peace, in order that we have experiences of just love, and in order that we will eventually remember who we really are. Okay, thank you very much.